You can forget about that. I don't think that ball's come down yet. Made a good lane for Spooner with the backhander. That's nasty. Smack to center, long run. Rottenberg, oh, she caught it. Stop. That surely must be illegal. Welcome back for episode 10 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. Last week, we parsed through those historic contract extensions for Antoine Winfield Jr., Travis Kelce, Christian Barmore. We also took a look at some of the players that might move the needle on their new teams and some signings that I don't see paying off much at all. This week, we get to go over the absolutely spectacular NBA Conference semifinal matchups and predict the East and West Conference finals. After the NBA talk, I'll take a little look back at my MLB Postseason Award predictions one more time. I feel I really nailed 2 of them, but for a couple of them, I got cheated, and I'll explain why. Then, at the very end of the episode, it could be time for an epic comeback. I'll tell you everything we know about the return of EA Sports college football video game this July. So, on to the wrap-up of the NBA Conference semifinals. We got to start with everybody's championship favorite and still the clear best team in the NBA. The Celtics have been at the top since day one. They were the only team to win in 5 games during the conference semis, too. They beat the Cavs by an average of 15 points in games they won. Now, was it the most convincing show we've ever seen from a 1 seed? Definitely not, but I've tried to drill this point into everybody's heads for multiple whole episodes now. This Boston team at 90% capacity is better than any other team in the league at 100%. The Cavs had some crucial injuries at the absolute worst time. They had no Donovan Mitchell, their superstar, for the last 2, no Jarrett Allen, no Karis LeVert for Game 5. They were never going to win that game or the series, but at least they can hang their hats on that Game 2 win. That was 118-94 when they actually blew out Boston. I'm strongly agreeing with everybody that says if Boston doesn't win the chip this year, it would be a huge disappointment. The other series in the East went the distance, and like I've been for a big chunk of these playoffs, I was wrong on my predictions. I thought the Knicks would win in 5. Indiana blew out New York in Game 7, 130-109. And the Pacers absolutely could not miss. They shot 67% from the floor and 54% from 3. We've said this before. If you like defense, the Pacers are not going to be your favorite team in the field. But if they shoot anything like that against Boston, I bet they avoid a sweep. They're the highest scoring team by far in the playoffs, just like they were in the regular season. Indiana had 6 guys score in double digits in the semis, and Obi Toppin just missed. I said they needed about 75 points a game from their big 3, with Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner, and Pascal Siakam. In reality, they only ended up averaging 57.4 with that trio, but everybody else contributed, and they're so deep. Unlike the 3 other remaining teams, they don't have a single superstar, but they just get it done. One prediction that I feel I nailed from the Knicks and Pacers series. Jalen Brunson had so many MVP efforts. He had a bit of a clunker in Game 7 with 17 points, and then broke his hand. He's already had surgery, so he'll be back in plenty of time next year. I believe he's going to keep getting even better, even if the team around him doesn't. Dante DiVincenzo was lights out in Game 7. He hit 9 out of 15 threes, but the Knicks defense forgot to show up on the big stage. Still, there's no chance the Pacers win the series. Boston in 5. I think Tatum goes for 45 or more in a game, maybe even an elimination game, and Boston wins at least 1 game in the series by 30 or more. The Pacers already pushed the Celtics to overtime in Game 1, but I think Boston's going to snap out of this and throttle them soon. For Indiana to really steal a game in this series, they're going to need another ridiculous shooting night. If it hasn't happened yet by the time this episode comes out, I'm betting it's Game 3. Now, can we get some violins for the Oklahoma City Thunder and their incredibly short-lived run as the best team in the West? I thought the series would go 6 games, if you'll recall, but I could never have predicted them to lose to the Mavericks. The sequence at the end of Game 6 was wild. There was that lob from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to Chet Holmgren that put OKC up 1 point with 20 seconds left. PJ Washington ended up being the hero after drawing, on paper, a foul, I suppose, against Shai on a 3 with 2.5 seconds left and making 2 free throws. Then he intentionally missed the last one to burn the clock for a 1-point win. That was a big brain play there. I loved it. Numbers to ponder, though. The total score was exactly even for the series. The Mavericks only shot 66% from the free throw line. Luka and Kyrie both had some off games. Nothing statistically suggests the Mavs should have won. SGA went for 32.2 points a game, but there were clear stretches where Chet and Jalen Williams couldn't score enough for them to keep up. I think it's pretty clear that you need at least 2 offensive stars to win in this league, and I don't think the Thunder have that at least yet. I bet they're going to bring in a big-name free agent to score if they want to open up their championship window for next year. The Nuggets and Wolves was an absolute humdinger, as my grandmother would say. It was another series that went to 7 games, saw plenty of crazy stuff we didn't expect. Jamal Murray went ballistic in the first half in Game 7 with 24 points, while Anthony Edwards didn't look like himself for most of the game. The Wolves' defense, though, put together 96 minutes of their best basketball in Game 6 and 7, and they knocked out the champs. Denver was supposed to be toast after the 17 and 26-point losses in the first 2 games. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray are still incredible. They're the best duo in the playoffs every year, but they got practically zero help in the latter part of this series. In Game 7, they scored 69 of Denver's 90 points combined. It's supposed to be a whole team effort, especially in the playoffs, but it just isn't with those 2 guys. I'm certain the Wolves will make some noise if they get through the West and into the finals. Dallas has some depth emerging with P.J. Washington, Derrick Jones, and Daniel Gafford scoring in double figures in the semis. My heart tells me the Mavs have a ton of momentum and faith, but my head says Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are better than Luka and Kyrie. Now, to clarify, do I think that the Wolves stars will outscore the Mavericks stars? Absolutely not. However, Anthony Edwards and Cat are way better defenders. The Mavs pulled off a bit of a surprise win in Game 1. Luka ended up taking over with 15 of his 33 in that fourth quarter, while Kyrie just kept them in it in the first half, scoring 24 points of his own. My prediction overall for the series, Timberwolves in 6. I think Anthony Edwards at some point will have a 40-point triple-double, and Rudy Gobert has multiple games with 5 blocks. Luka probably averages something like a 35-point triple-double for the series, and Kyrie will finish with multiple 30-point games because he already has one, but I just don't think it'll be enough. Minnesota's just too rock-solid defensively. Here's something I haven't tried before, but I promised I would in the last episode. I'm going to give a couple of the biggest pleasant surprises and dismal disappointments from the whole playoff field to date. It's so tough to be overly critical of NBA players, and it's so easy to heap praise on guys, especially in the playoffs, but I'm going to try and do both as judiciously as possible. I hope that's a word. Anyway, the 2 biggest disappointments from the playoffs so far, the Lakers' Rui Hachimura and the 76ers' Tobias Harris. These guys make $17 million and $36 million a year respectively on their current deals. Each had 1 game scoring in double digits, and they saw their scoring averages drop significantly from the regular season to the playoffs. Tobias Harris even had a goose egg in an elimination game, only taking 2 shots. No real aggression to speak of for either of these guys on offense or defense, and they're already not defensive juggernauts by any means. If you're going to be a role player, then I argue that you need to be paid role player money. That allows you a ton more roster flexibility to build a team that can actually win games in May and June. Notice that both of these guys are now in Cancun. Now for the pleasant surprises, the breakout guys. I've been going back and forth on some of these because some of them were coming off really good regular seasons too. Ultimately, I'm still going with Dante DiVincenzo and PJ Washington. The numbers for both of these guys got noticeably better in the playoffs. Through 2 rounds, they both shot over 40% from 3, didn't turn the ball over often, they both played over 35 minutes a game, even chipped in with some good defense. I think they're both quickly becoming household names, and they're the definition of pleasant surprises. Now, both guys were streaky. They mixed in some clunkers, some single-digit games, and that kind of thing, but beggars can't be choosers. Compared to the expectations for them, that's a big part of it, they both overperformed and they had outsized impacts on their team's playoff runs. Hopefully PJ Washington proves me right about this, and if the Mavs are going to have any chance against the Wolves, he'll have to. So in what'll probably become something like a monthly tradition up until the All-Star break, time for another quick recheck of my MLB Postseason Awards predictions for this year. This is going to be a highly mixed bag. Can I throw out the picks that I nailed first? That's a rhetorical question, by the way. Of course I can. I run the show here. Tarek Skubal of the Tigers is the AL Cy Young until proven otherwise. When I first started scripting this episode, he had maintained under a 2.0 ERA 10 starts in, and he had no losses. He just had one poor start on Wednesday of this week against the Royals. His fastball keeps getting more late life on it. The full arsenal for him goes fastball, sinker, curveball, slider, changeup, and every single one of them is above average. What are you even supposed to do to hit this guy, honestly? The only guys that are really chasing Skubal closely are the Orioles' Corbin Burnes and the Red Sox' Tanner Houck. That said, their full stat profiles aren't any better. Lock this in, Tarik Skubal is going to be the 2024 AL Cy Young. As we hop over to the NL Cy Young, I picked the Giants' Logan Webb. It's not an utter whiff yet. He has the 10th best odds or so, depending on the sports books you look at. As I record, he has a 4-4 record with a 3.03 ERA. Those numbers are good, but there are just so many NL guys that are under 2.0 ERA right now. The best thing Webb does is eat up innings and not walk people. It's gonna be really, really hard to stand out in this year's National League, though. The Phillies have two of the best choices, in fact, in Zach Wheeler and Ranger Suarez. Suarez leads the league in wins and has an ERA under 1.5. Still, I think the craziest breakout of this year is unequivocally Shota Imanaga of the Cubs. He has the lowest ERA through 9 starts in MLB history at 0.84. Oh yeah, and the Cubs' number 2 starter, Javier Assad, is also under a 1.5 ERA. I almost kind of hope those guys from the Cubs get some quote-unquote random drug tests soon. Even with unreal starting pitching, the Cubs are a couple games under 500 in a real similar spot to the Tigers. I think the most sustainable option for NL Cy Young is Ranger Suarez of the Phillies. He has 5 or 6 different pitches with incredible control, a lot like Skubal, but he doesn't throw nearly as hard to gas himself out like almost every other good pitcher. The Phillies have the best record in the majors right now. I wish team success didn't factor into guys' chances of winning major awards so much, but that's the MLB today. If the standings mostly stay where they are, then I'd imagine it'll be one of the Phillies guys getting the Cy Young this year, but my fingers are still crossed for Logan Webb. When it comes to American League MVP, I picked Mike Trout. Obviously, that's an incomplete grade on this pick. It totally could have happened with the pace he got on. Between hitting bombs, stealing bases, his glove being as good as ever. I'm going to repick for every award at the All-Star break. I've mentioned that before, and I really hope I don't have to go with Juan Soto or Aaron Judge from the Yankees. And yet, they're two of the hottest hitters on the planet. Barf. For National League MVP, I picked Mookie Betts. One caveat, I still think he's not the best player on his own team. Shohei Ohtani, as only a designated hitter, has unequivocally been one of the best players in baseball. If he were also able to pitch, I think Mookie would have no chance of beating him. But given how incredible Mookie's played at shortstop, he should rack up plenty of defensive value in addition to absurd hitting. What's certain is that the 2 best players in the National League are 1 and 2 in the Dodgers lineup. Still, I think it's advantage to Mookie currently just because Ohtani is only a DH. For AL Rookie of the Year, I went with Wyatt Langford of the Rangers, and that looks like the biggest whiff. Langford's had plenty of struggles, hitting .224 with 1 home run, and he's currently on the injured list. The Orioles have 2 guys I believe are going to be better than Langford in their center fielder Colton Cowser and their shortstop Jackson Holliday. Holliday got called up, went 2 for 34 in his first 10 games, and went right back down. With that, I'd argue he's out of the running. Mason Miller, the absolute flamethrower from Oakland, is the current favorite in most sportsbooks. He made 6 starts and 10 appearances last year, but he's still rookie eligible. He has an .093 ERA and 38 strikeouts in 19 1/3 innings, again, at the time of the recording. Plus, he hadn't blown a save in 8 tries. His stuff is positively yucky, and if he can keep anything near his current pace, then I think a great closer is more valuable than any of the best hitting eligible position players. One dark horse I have to add, like it or not, another Tiger, it's Wencel Perez. He's hitting right around 300, best among rookies right now. He has a ton of extra base pop, good speed, good glove in both right and center field. Gonna be hard to keep him off the ballots. My National League Rookie of the Year pick was the Giants' Jung-Hoo Lee. He is also out for the season with a torn labrum in his shoulder, so another incomplete pick here. In 37 games, he only had 2 homers and 8 RBIs. The thing is, he's going to be a solid leadoff hitter and defender for a long time, but this is another L for me that I could not foresee. Personally, I really hope it's the Pirates' Paul Skeens that wins NL Rookie of the Year. He got called up May 11th and promptly struck out 18 in his first 10 innings. That patented fastball sitting 100 to 102. Oh yeah, and he opened up his second start ever in the major leagues by striking out the first 7 in a row. It is an absolute disgrace that he had to start the season in the minors. Yes, I realize he's only 21 years old, but you got to do what's best for your major league club until you determine that you're fully out of contention. From number 1 overall pick to debut in less than 365 days, I think Paul Skeens should be the next young sort of mega star starting pitcher. Managers of the Year are still the most difficult call of any of the major awards, if you ask me. My 2 picks are still currently the favorites, but I gotta say, I'm not certain that either of them are gonna stick for a whole season. The Tigers' A.J. Hinch and the Cubs' Craig Counsell have both kept their teams around 500. They have both benefited a ton from some incredible starting pitching performances. They both have great Cy Young candidates in their rotations. Skubal and Imanaga could make any manager look good. These guys are both veteran managers and former players who I think always do a good job of getting through to current players. Craig Counsell's another guy I have a soft spot for because he filled in as an analyst for the Brewers radio broadcasts. My personal biases aside, I could see both of these teams slumping even a little bit worse in the second half, getting out of contention by September or so, and I don't think that's a formula for winning a Manager of the Year award. Overall, a couple of picks that look really good, a couple of picks that look really bad, and 2 guys that are out for the season. Now for the moment some of you have waited over 13 years for. Our ape overlords, also known as Electronic Arts, have descended from their monkey thrones to present us with a gift for being their loyal servants. They're going to revive their college football series with College Football 25 this July. The cover that sort of broke the internet when it dropped chose Michigan running back Donovan Edwards, Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers, and Colorado wide receiver DB Travis Hunter to be the most prominent players on it, as they should be some of the top returning players in the nation at their positions. Those 3, along with a lot of other really quality returning players, will be the first current college players to ever appear on the cover. Just a few of the prominent gameplay notes that have caught my eye so far. RPO and option offense in general is going to be a heavy focus. There's more equipment options than Madden has ever offered, a faster pace of play than Madden. Quality of your recruits is going to matter, where 5 stars play better than 2 stars, and custom playbooks. The worldwide launch date is July 19th. Pre-orders are available now from Xbox and PlayStation platforms. I believe that's now through July 18th, the day before that worldwide launch. One thing everybody wants to know about any new video game coming out today: what versions are available, how much are they going to be, and what do you get with each one? So of course, knowing EA Sports, they had to make a package or bundle with Madden and their College Football 25 game all in one. For the MVP bundle, you get 3-day early access for both. You get access to Madden points and college football points, those being an in-game real money currency. You get some player items, you get some packs for your ultimate teams in both. In Madden, you get a couple of strategy items. Still, even after you add all of this stuff up, I just cannot see this being worth it. The deluxe edition of either game on its own is $100, and each standard edition pre-order with no bonuses will set you back $70. Have I ever been a pre-order guy? No, I haven't, and I still don't think I will. Will I try it eventually? Probably not planning to buy it for myself. One thing I've done for a few years now with Maddens, when I'm not so sure if I really want to get into the game or not, you look for a used copy that somebody just bought, tried out, and decided they didn't like it. They already mark it down a little bit. It's just like a new car driving it off the lot. I personally like to look on eBay, but I'm sure you could find nice deals other places too. So that'll do it for episode 10 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. We're in double digits, folks. Thanks everyone once again for your continued support. For possibly the first time, I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to make an episode about next week, but I'll figure it out and I'll save next week's problems for next week, you feel me? This has been episode 10 of White Noise Sports with Tanner White. Thanks for joining me. And that ball is launched! You can't forget about that! I don't think that ball's come down yet. Made a good lane for Spooner with the backhander. That's nasty. Smack to center, long run. Rottenberg, oh, she caught it! Stop. That surely must be illegal.